Actually, that's a really funny thought. Imagine Satan has nothing better to do than to wait for someone to sneeze so he can be like, haha, yoink your soul, idiot!
Ancient traditions we still do for no reason. You and your best bro are sitting at a train station
Objection! I don't have friends. This is a fucking lie.
waiting on a bench for your train to come. You both have been so excited about the trip you're about to embark on, and you both are surprisingly feeling rather inquisitive today. And it's that inquisitiveness that's actually going to make today's journey rather insightful. As you both are beginning to get bored, you realize that you do have some time to kill before the train will arrive, and you
Make out with your homie. Is that the first ancient tradition? When you have nothing to do and you're waiting, might as well kiss your homies.
decide to stroll around the city center while you wait. Almost immediately upon exiting the train station, you notice a beautiful fountain. This fountain is massive, historic, and has multiple water features, just making it look so cool. And interestingly, as you approach it, you notice that the entire bottom of this well is filled with coins.
Free
And
money!
You actively see people throwing coins into this well as
Okay, but that's not an ancient tradition. That's for luck. That's for luck. You just gotta believe in it, and it's gonna come true. Oh my god, I do these traditions. I'm the fucking target audience for this.
you were looking at it. Obviously, not wanting to miss out on some good fortune, you
Good
decide to throw a
fortune.
coin of your own. And it's almost instantly
Oh,
after
a 2 euro coin in this economy. Look, 1 cent, 2 cent, or 5 cent. You're not gonna catch me throw a 2 euro coin. A 2 euro coin. That's like half a doner at this point. Actually, it's just 1/3 of a doner, but still, no way.
this coin leaves your hand that you begin to question, wait, why am I even doing this? Surely there's an explanation for people throwing currency into water features. However, luckily for you, your friend has a book on ancient traditions. And this book
Traditions?
admittedly is going to do some heavy lifting today. And as your friend opens this book to tell you the answer to your question, he finds the specific page, and it's really quite interesting. You see, the tradition of tossing coins into a fountain doesn't date back 10 years or 100 years, it dates back thousands of years.
So it must work then. They wouldn't do it for 1,000 years if it didn't work. Also, what I'm wondering is if there's like, I don't know, homeless people or people who are just like scouting in the night who dive into the fountain to get all the money out. Is that a thing?
And the reason why we do it is literally an ancient belief that, well, just kind of stuck. The most commonly agreed upon explanation of this tradition actually dates back to Roman, British, and Celtic mythology. And the part of that mythology that most pertains to this, well, tradition is the fact that if you were out in the wild and happened to stumble upon some sort of fresh water source, such as a spring or creek or lake, you were literally blessed by a water deity who had just granted you good fortune and good health in the form of random clean drinking water. Now, obviously, because you have been given such a massive and random gift by the water deities, the only natural thing to do in return is, of course, repay them. Which is
Yeah, right. Give them money. A currency they can't even fucking use. What, is the water deity gonna climb out of the pond and go into a town where it will be undoubtedly shunned by humans that don't understand that it is a deity? Yeah, smart idea, humans. Man, humans suck, guys. They just can't get it right. If I drop a coin into a fountain, I hope that it can help someone. If a homeless person walks by and decides to take it, I'm the person that granted them good fortune. True. Yeah, honestly, I don't mind that either if they were to take it out. Like I am just throwing it in for luck. And if that luck travels further than me to other people as well, why wouldn't I be happy about that?
where the monetary offering comes into place. It was commonplace at this time to literally leave money or gold in fresh water sources to repay nature and thank it for its offering.
Is that gonna do anything to the water? Probably not, right?
Which is partially wholesome because it's such a deep gratitude for nature, but also kind of ironic because you're finding a clean water source and then instantly contaminating it. At least if you're using, well, dirty coins, specifically ones stored in your prison wallet. Regardless, while this tradition is obviously
prison wallet, people were storing money in their ass? Huh?
interesting, there are other similar practices that actually predate coinage altogether. And many much older cultures that had similar beliefs about water deities would leave offerings such as food, special stones, carved artifacts, and even herbs in exchange and in gratitude of natural water sources that they also found.
What would be your favorite offering? I would appreciate cool rocks. I think if I was a deity, I couldn't do much with money. But if they gave me cool, shiny rocks, oh, that would make me so happy. I think for me, rocks.
Now, interestingly, as time went on and beliefs changed and the religions evolved, the tradition itself stayed the same. However, the reasoning behind it simply took on a new meaning. During the Roman era, for example, travelers would typically throw coins into fountains right before a journey, using it as an offering for safe passage or success on their trip. And while that specific belief still definitely exists on the modern day, I would argue that for the most part, people that are throwing coins into wells in the big 2026 are usually just doing so for a bit of fun and potentially some good luck as well. And while in the modern day this tradition may seem like it's all fun and games, there was a time not too long ago where this tradition literally seemed like life or death. After getting this insightful history lesson from your bro, you now feel both informed and positive because you have just unintentionally blessed the journey you and your friend were about to go on. And while the explanation that your friend had just given you was interesting, it was also lengthy, and the train was about to arrive any moment. As you and your friend rush to get onto your train, you sit down in your seats and begin to relax, thinking about the fun day you have ahead of you once you arrive in your location. But because you know you're stuck on this train for at least the next few hours, you decide to take out your laptop and get some work done. When of course, your mind notices another outdated tradition. As you open your laptop and wait for it to turn on, you look down at your keyboard and ask yourself, wait, why is every single keyboard laid out this way? Like, who decided to put A, S, D, F beside each other? And what the heck is a QWERTY? Wouldn't it just make more sense if the keyboard was A to Z? And while you continue to ponder this on your own...
Is that the tradition? Thinking about keyboards? I don't think I've ever wondered why the keyboard's laid out that way. Maybe I need to be more investigative in my ways, because I never once in my life was questioning it.
Your friend is already flipping to the right page in the history book to see the ancient origin of this
strange
tradition. And he explains that...
What is the tradition? The keyboard layout? I guess the way the keyboard is laid out.
The reason why keyboards are laid out the way they are date back all the way to the 1870s, which obviously isn't ancient, but I figured it was old enough to put on this list. Okay, this might sound a bit weird, but I only ask because I care. When was the last time you've seen a doctor? In the 1870s, obviously, people were not creating keyboard layouts for computers. They were creating layouts for mechanical typewriters. And interestingly and intuitively, early typewriter prototypes actually had the alphabet laid out in A to Z formatting. But very quickly, people were running into one major issue. Letters that were commonly used consecutively would get stuck together on the typewriter. And with a keyboard that goes from A to Z, some common combinations were, of course, EF, AB, ST, NO, and DE. And because of all of these common letter combinations being right beside each other in the keyboard, as I mentioned, A, they were getting stuck together, and B, the arms of the mechanical typewriter were actually striking each other, essentially jamming the machine, making it either temporarily inoperable or, in some better cases, just damaging it slightly. Regardless, they learned pretty quickly that A to Z was not sustainable for early keyboards, which is why they needed to make a new mechanical keyboard layout, and this job was completed by Christopher Scholl. Christopher's solution to this issue was to separate letters that were commonly used pairs to intentionally slow down typists and reduce the overlap in letters being used consecutively. That alone is kind of hilarious because in the 1870s, typists had to be nerfed because typists were literally so good and fast at typing that they were breaking the machines. Imagine how annoying that would be, being so good at
That sounds fun. I feel like back then, I mean, there was not much else to do. They didn't have the internet. I imagine typing is one of the most fun hobbies you could have had at the time. I don't know.
Imagine how annoying that would be, being so good at typing that you were typing so fast the machine would break that you then had to replace that machine with
that's
a
awful.
completely new layout. Like,
Suffering from success, literally.
I personally got a new Razer keyboard that has a whole new 6 buttons at the very left side of the keyboard, and that messed me up for weeks because every time I wanted to hit escape, I was actually hitting M6.
Oh my
and every time I thought I was
God.
hitting S, I was hitting A. Regardless, that small change was annoying, and I couldn't imagine experiencing an entirely new keyboard layout. And it's actually, ironically, this reason alone that we still use the QWERTY keyboard layout to this very day. Obviously, modern-day keyboards and computers have no issues with keys getting stuck or mechanical arms striking each other. And theoretically speaking, we could totally switch over to a number of different layouts, and there are actually other ones that do exist. However, the reason why the QWERTY layout is still the standard of the world to this very day, and likely will be forever, is simply because once it was established as the industry standard for typewriters, the format, the scale set, and the habit all sort of transitioned into other technological devices. And at this point now,
I was gonna be like, please don't change it. I cannot get used to a new layout. Please, I'm used to it. Stop, don't touch it, please.
Even though the reasoning for this layout is completely redundant, it would be way more trouble than it's worth to try to introduce a new layout, even though it's, well, kind of obsolete at this point. So yeah, even though over 100 years ago, there was a very good reason to be using the QWERTY layout on a keyboard, in the modern day, the reason why we still use this format is more so tradition than efficiency. As your friend begins to close the
You went to a course at college, at school to learn 10-finger typing. If they change it, I'm gonna scream. They had those courses for me as well, but I never went. And over time, I just became so chronically online that I just learned how to type pretty fast by myself.
history book, after telling you all of this interesting information, you see a plume of dust blow out of the book as he slams it shut. And of course, the first thing your friend does is sneeze, the body's natural reaction to, well, pollutants in the nostrils. And while your friend sneezes aggressively on this train, you respond to his sneeze without even thinking about it.
You say Gesundheit in Germany, which means health.
Tell him, bless you. But before your friend could even wipe off the snot he launched on the seat back in front of him, you ask him to open the book again. Because you're curious why we even say bless you in the first place. Obviously, this has to have some sort of ancient origin, and you need to get to the bottom of it. And luckily for you, your friend obliges, and he explains the following.
Okay, my theory, when people sneezed back in the days, they might have died from it. So people were saying bless you in the hopes that the person wouldn't die from their shitty immune system back then.
The tradition of saying bless you after somebody sneezes is one of the oldest recorded traditions that exists from ancient times that is still extremely prevalent in the modern day. And I would argue that most of the people that say bless you do it to be kind and polite. However,
Yes.
they have no idea what the origin of what they're saying even means. But don't worry, you're watching Trust Me Bro, and you're gonna learn. Some people claim that the origin of saying bless you after somebody sneezes dates back to the ancient Romans and ancient Greeks, who were believed to have seen sneezing as a divine sign.
Oh,
in some
never
cases
mind.
as a good sign, but in most cases a bad sign. And this bad sign was typically interpreted as your soul literally leaving your body, or as you being attacked by some sort of unseen demon. In the
I sneeze like several times a day. My nose is hella sensitive. Are you telling me my soul has been exiting my body every single time that happens?
case of your soul leaving your body, it was believed that during a sneeze, your soul would at least temporarily leave your body, and for that reason, it was vulnerable to be taken by Satan, which is why any...
Well, actually, that's a really funny thought. Imagine Satan has nothing better to do than to wait for someone to sneeze so he can be like, haha, yoink your soul, idiot!
Which is why anybody with an earshot who had heard your sneeze would bless you to protect your soul from being stolen by the devil. And in the case of being attacked by a demon, some believed that sneezing was a form of you removing evil spirits from your body. And in this case, bystanders would say bless you simply to help you further remove these evil spirits.
Oh, okay. Maybe I should sneeze more. I will sneeze more to remove the evil spirits, but also use holy water nose spray just in case Satan's trying to get it.
I don't know about you, but both of these to me are extremely interesting because something that is now seen as a polite thing to say was literally a casual form of exorcism in ancient times. In any instance, people would say bless you literally as a form of blessing you or protecting you from this divine or supernatural experience that could potentially be negative. And even if it were positive, they were simply affirming your positive divine experience. Besides the Roman and Greek origins of the phrase, there's also another origin that dates back all the way to medieval Europe, specifically around the bubonic plague.
Oh,
During
no.
the bubonic plague, one of the earliest warning signs, at least that was believed at the time, was sneezing. And it was for this reason that anytime somebody heard somebody sneezing, they would offer them a blessing, as they knew that the next time they would see this person, they likely wouldn't be alive. Regardless of which origin you subscribe to, the fact that we still do this in the modern day, to me at least, is interesting.
So my first explanation was correct. I said, because their immune system are weak as hell, people thought, oh, you get a cold, you'll die. So they were blessing them, so hoping they wouldn't die. Well, similar enough.
Because I would argue that basically nobody in the modern day are helping people expel demons or wishing them a safe passage to the afterlife when they say bless you after hearing a sneeze. And while the tradition is still popular in the modern day, it really has no practical purpose besides being polite. But I do think the history is interesting and, well, there's nothing wrong with being polite, so while there's no reason for this tradition, I don't mind it being around. Oh, and if you're curious about the meaning behind Gesundheit, you know, those weirdos that say Gesundheit after you sneeze.
Weirdos! Where? I'm gonna fight him! Or am I a weirdo just because I'm German? God damn it!
Well, that actually stems from the German language, because the word Gesundheit is actually somewhat borrowing the German words for health or good health. And this tradition is actually more so modern, taking place in the 20th century. And while it doesn't have the divine roots, it does have the same core message of wishing you good health. But yeah, I honestly don't know who says Gesundheit. If you do...
I say Gesundheit because I'm German! What do you mean? Who said? Me, I say it! It's my language! I'm so offended. Everyone in Germany says Gesundheit.
Comment below and unsubscribe. As your friend
Unsubscribe!
begins to close the book, for a second time, another plume of dust shoots up his nose and he sneezes once again, further covering the seat back in front of him with his green goo. And because of this, you both go silent, trying to figure out how you're gonna clean up all this snot.
Hi guys. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you!
But in your silence and pondering, you hear the people in front of you speaking. Unfortunately, they're not speaking about your snot. They're speaking about natural disasters of all things. You decide to listen in. And one thing you notice is that every hurricane they mention has a name.
Katrina, Tortilla. That's the only two I know from that one Vine.
And while in the modern day this is commonplace,
Maria,
your inquisitive
Sandy, and
mind
Katrina.
can't help but ask, what is the ancient origin of naming storms after people?
This one's actually interesting. I have no idea what it is, but I kind of always was wondering.
Specifically women for a very long time. And while you don't see this out loud, the inquisitive look on your face and you slowly pointing at the book is enough of a hint for your friend to open the book and find the ancient origin of the tradition of naming storms. And while he is still in no condition to read, he leans the book towards you and it reads the following. The tradition of naming storms dates all the way back to the 1800s. And while it once again isn't ancient, I think it's old enough. Regardless, during the 1800s, specifically in countries and islands that saw a ton of hurricane activity, decided to start naming these tropical storms after saints, specifically saints that had days dedicated to them. And how they would associate these names to these storms is whichever saint's day was closest to the day of the storm would have their name given to the storm as well. So for example, on July 26, 1925, the hurricane was called Hurricane Santa Ana, and so on and so forth. But while this tradition was happening in smaller island nations, it wasn't commonplace globally yet. And in most places of the world that didn't see tropical storms very often, how they would identify storms is simply by addressing them by the longitude and latitude that they were currently at.
Lame! The name thing is way cooler. What do you mean?
Now, the only problem with this was that A, it was kind of confusing for regular people because most people are not familiar with the longitude or latitude they live at, and also if somebody was trying to track multiple storms, it would be a plethora of numbers they would have to memorize and try to decipher rather than just remembering a name, something most people are pretty good with already. In the early 1900s, the tradition of giving storms non-numerical names started to gain popularity, although these names were always retrospective, specifically naming storms after locations that they destroyed. Although giving a storm a name after the fact doesn't help save
Great. After the area that they destroyed.
many lives. And it was for this reason that in the 1950s in the United States, meteorologists began giving storms names in alphabetical order. However, these names were not human names, they were military names, such as Bravo, Echo, words like that. Although that naming structure actually only existed for 3 years, until in 1953 when meteorologists officially began naming hurricanes after women. That's right, they began using human names, but only female human names, of course going in alphabetical order. Now, if you have a keen eye, you would notice that, well, in the modern day, storms are named after men, and I'm curious if you know, what year did they begin naming storms after men as well? If you said 1979, you'd be right, which means that for 26 years, storms were named exclusively after women, which to me just seems illogical, and I'm curious if they added men's names to be fair, or just because they were running out of names.
So some island nation did it after saints, which makes sense, you know? And then America in 1950s just named them after women just because. That's the explanation. They just kind of were like, yo, we ran out of other things. Let's just take woman names. Is that what this is?
Regardless, the sexism in that is an entirely different ancient tradition that we're not discussing in this video. With the introductions of human names, there has also been an introduction of retiring names if the storm was catastrophic enough.
Retired. Oh, so if it's super bad, then you can't reuse it because it destroyed too many things and killed too many people or something like that?
Meaning that there are some human names that storms will never have again, like Katrina, for example.
Yeah.
But yeah, the tradition of naming storms isn't necessarily ancient, although it has a very interesting history, in my opinion. And while naming storms after the longitude and latitude, in my opinion, is way too overcomplicated, I feel like giving them human names is almost a bit too simple as well. And I feel like there's possibly a middle ground of names that sound scientific but are also easy to understand and communicate. Like, for example, like some sort of code. Like, look at German cars. C63 AMG,
What?
M340i, not a real M car, A8, Porsche 911 GTS. All relatively simple and scientific sounding names.
No. Just do names. Names are way easier to remember. I'm not gonna remember Storm C63 AMG. What? Are you kidding me? No way.
Structures that aren't, well, giving storms human personas. This kind of reminds me of the media giving like serial killers unintentionally really cool names, like
The
it's not
Zodiac
helping
Killer.
anything. And I feel like if you're a kid in school and let's say that Hurricane Luke is coming to town, if you're a kid in school and your name is Luke, you are gonna get picked on for the next while. And
I don't know. I guess you would be because children are fucking immature and stupid, I guess.
every time there's an update in the news, everybody's saying, oh, Luke's coming to town, look what Luke did. And as a kid, that's probably gonna be pretty annoying. Regardless, you've
Fair
now
enough.
got to the bottom of another outdated tradition. As you and your friend complete reading this section of the book, your friend closes the book and you both sit and reflect. And you really can't help yourself but say, wow, I truly am grateful to live in a place that doesn't have hurricanes.
Hell yeah.
Sure, we might have snow and high taxes, but I mean, no hurricanes is a big plus. And while your friend is agreeing with you, he actually remembers that he has an upcoming trip to Florida. And because of this, he says, hopefully a hurricane doesn't hit when I'm in Florida next month. And immediately after he says that, he knocks on the closest piece of wood he can
Oh, knock on wood! Knock on wood!
find, obviously ensuring that he didn't just bring negativity onto his trip. But almost instantly after knocking on the wood, your friend sees the look in your eyes and knows that you're inquisitive on what
The friend is fucking pissed at this point. The friend is like, man, this guy just keeps asking me fucking questions. Use your phone! I'm tired of looking through this old ass book every time.
Why do people knock on wood after they say something that could be unfortunate? And before you can say anything, he's already opening the book, looking for an explanation. And what he reveals is the following. Interestingly, people knocking on wood is extremely similar to people throwing coins into natural springs. In both of these instances, individuals are believing that they are interacting with spirits and actively bringing good fortune and blessings onto themselves. However, the way that knocking on wood works is just a bit different. The origin of the wood knocking tradition is believed to date back to Celtic or German folklore, and it's believed within this folklore that benevolent, supernatural beings live in trees. You know, fairies, sprites, and just general positive spirits.
Okay, I don't think my IKEA table qualifies as that, right?
It was because of this belief that fortunate and positive spirits were living in trees that people began to form the tradition of touching trees or knocking on trees specifically to wake up the spirits and request good luck from them. This touching or knocking could also be a sign of gratitude, thanking them for good fortune that you've experienced, which of course rings similar to the first section where people would put an offering into a natural spring to show gratitude or to request good fortune. Now, interestingly, the belief that trees are sacred or full of positive spirits isn't necessarily exclusive to German or Celtic mythology, and this belief has actually existed throughout almost all of time in basically every culture. Trees, in my opinion, are really cool, and almost every ancient and modern culture has recognized that in one way or another. And knocking on wood is simply one example of that has, I guess, evolved and transformed over time. And while most people who still knock on wood for good luck don't necessarily know why they're doing it, and they're definitely not praying to spirits within the wood, they are displaying a bit of belief and a bit of superstition, which go to show the strength of beliefs and the importance of traditions within history. So,
Well, in my opinion, you knock on wood, you're on the safe side. You're on the safe side. Whatever you did, whatever you said, just knock on the wood just in case it's true, you know? Just in case it's true. You should knock on it.
But yeah, even though knocking on wood just seems like a funny thing to do so you don't jinx yourself, the ancient origins of this tradition are a lot less silly and a lot more serious. And they might make you look at trees just a little bit differently. But with
The
all
tree
of the
is
talk
tired. That tree is pissed off.
that you and your friend have been doing, day has turned to night on this train ride, and you see one of the train employees approaching you with the beverage cart. You and your friend both take an adult beverage, and before either of you dare take a sip from your glasses, you delicately touch the two glasses together and then
Cheers.
proceed to drink. Luckily, at this point in the train ride, your friend already knows the drill. Unfortunately, this time he doesn't even need to consult the book, because he knows why we do this. And after he takes a firm gulp of his drink, he tells you the following. There's actually a few really interesting reasons why people would cheers their drink. One of the most popular explanations why people would clink their glasses or cheers
is to check if the other person poisoned it by holding intense eye contact. If you hold intense eye contact, you will be able to see if the other person is maybe hiding something. That's my guess.
ancient times is because they wanted to make sure that their drink was not poisoned.
Wait, that was for real? I was guessing. Thought I was just making shit up. No way.
It's believed that people would cheers their drinks with so much force that the liquid would literally spill out of the cups and kind of just, cross-contaminate drinks with each other. But this was strategic to ensure that if your drink was poisoned and your guest witnessed your drink go into their drink, if they were hesitant to have their drink, then you could kind of know your drink was poisoned.
Okay, I was thinking similarly, not exactly like that, but similar enough.
This was definitely some ancient 5D chess. Although with poisonings being rather common in ancient times, this isn't necessarily an unbelievable explanation and does make sense. Although it isn't the only reason why people would cheers in previous times. And another common reason why people would cheers glasses in ancient times is to ward off evil spirits.
What?
It was believed by some cultures that the loud noise of the glasses hitting each other were loud enough to scare away evil spirits.
Okay, evil spirits was a common reoccurring theme back then, huh? So what are we gonna hear next? Farting loudly while you're taking a shit is lucky because the spirits are gonna disappear? Like, what do you mean? Why are the spirits involved everywhere somehow?
And this practice was kind of linked to church bells as well, which I think also makes sense. But regardless, obviously this tradition of warding off evil spirits and sharing poison still exists, but its meaning is completely different. And in the modern day, people cheers simply to show a sign of unity and respect.
Yeah.
Although, if you ever believe your drink is poisoned, well, just make sure you cheers really hard. But considering most of the glasses that
I'm just imagining myself cheersing really hard and like the glasses break and shatter into a million pieces. That would be so funny.
people use today are bought from Temu, well, if you try doing an aggressive cheers, you're just gonna spill drink on the table and have glass shards in your hand. So instead, if you really want to protect yourself from poison and express some unity and good cheer, subscribe to the channel. We
Hell
currently
yeah.
have over 1.1 million bros, and we're on the road to 2 million bros. And we have a strict no poisoning policy here. Meaning that
Hey.
you're safe to subscribe and enjoy great videos every single Friday, just like this. And if you want more videos like this one, leave a
Oh, it's
like
over?
or leave a comment below saying part 2 so that I know you want more videos about ancient traditions that we still do today. And with this,
It's not over yet. There's one more.
continue to the final few traditions of this video. As you and your friend are finishing your drinks and beginning to relax, you notice the train employee coming back to collect your glasses. But you realize they're not empty-handed. They're actually holding a birthday cake. Now, obviously, you're shocked because it's not your birthday whatsoever, although your friend has a look in his face that he told the train it was your birthday, A, to embarrass you, and B, to get a free cake. And after the train
Smart.
staff finish singing happy birthday,
Oh,
you
God.
two are both left with a cake and one candle on it. But before you can even blow out this candle, your inquisitive mind gets the best of you. And your friend, once again, refers to the book. And this one is mind-blowing. The tradition of putting candles on a cake and blowing them out actually dates back thousands of years to the ancient Greeks.
Really?
The ancient Greeks would bake round cakes in honor of Artemis, the goddess of the moon. But not only would they bake these cakes in honor of the moon, but they would place candles on top of the cake to replicate the moon's signature glow.
The reason that they didn't make square cakes back then is because thousands of years ago, Minecraft actually didn't exist yet. So the concept of square cakes was weird. But now that Minecraft is a thing, there's more square cakes.
Once again, further honoring the moon. After the ancient Greeks had created their own edible moon replica, they would then make wishes that they believed the smoke from the candles were lifting to the moon god in hopes that the moon god would answer their prayers and make their dreams come true. Over time, the tradition of baking cakes, putting candles on them, and allowing the smoke from the candles to rise was associated with different celebrations and eventually became associated with birthdays. And from there, the tradition of allowing the candles to burn turned into blowing the candles out to further allow the smoke to rise and, of course, make your wish come true.
I
And while in the
see.
modern day, I would imagine that basically nobody is trying to have their wishes granted by the moon god Artemis, the fact that this tradition still remains nearly untouched from its ancient traditional form, in my opinion, is at least very interesting and gives you a fun fact to share at every birthday party you go to.
I never take candles on my cake. I'm way too lazy to get rid of them afterwards. It feels like a waste to only turn them on once. I guess you could save them for next year or for the next birthday. When you have a cake with candles and blow the fire out, you're literally getting wax and spit all over the cake and other people eat it. See, that's not my reason for not having candles, but that's a good benefit that I'm not having that.
And it's kind of funny to just imagine somebody, praying to the moon god and offering them a cake only for somebody to walk up and be like, oh, can we do this tomorrow? Tomorrow's my birthday, and we can pray together, and then we can eat the cake.
Right.
Like, it's just over time, people just took this opportunity of praying to gods and creating cakes as offerings to being like, actually, this is about me now. But yeah, that's why we blow out candles. Not because we all want to be amateur firefighters, but because thousands of years ago, people wanted the moon to grant their wishes. And while you and your friend complete this cake you received based off of lies, you feel tired and sluggish after the day of travel and the massive sugar intake. And for that reason, you decide to close your eyes and take a nap before your train gets to your destination. Completing the story for at least this video. And ladies and gentlemen,
Yippee!
there you have it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this
That was
story-based
cool.
episode of Trust Me Bro.
What I learned, everything is happening in our lives because of spirits. Every single old traditions we have, something about fucking spirits being involved. And nowadays, I don't know, maybe they're still here. Maybe that's why we still do it.